How's it going, everyone? This is Mike, and welcome back to another big screen review. And this time I'd like to talk about a film that I saw just a couple of nights ago. It was playing for one night at the Art Theater here in Champaign. A film called Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, which admittedly is about as far outside of my personal comfort zone as you could possibly get. And that's one reason why I decided to go see it. Because lately I have been trying to challenge myself to see films that, well, that don't make me comfortable just to think about them, and just to give myself a wider experience. Okay, so I see how much I can take, quite frankly. Yes. And that's why a couple of weeks ago I went to see the new Darren Aronofsky film Mother, which of course I made a video about. Had a very, well, rather negative reaction to the film, but I still wanted to go see this one. And another reason I wanted to see it is because the guy that teaches some of my film classes, a guy named Chuck Kaplinski, who was a local film critic and writer, and someone I admire very much, he was going to be introducing the film, and he specifically asked me in our class last Wednesday night if I was going to be going to this showing of Henry, which was going to be the very next night, and I told him, yeah, I'm going to be there. So I wanted to be there as a show of support for Chuck, and also because, as I said before, I just wanted to challenge myself and see how much I could take. Now, before the film started, Chuck and I were talking a little bit, and he said that there is a scene in the film that is so violent and so disgusting that if anyone is going to get up and walk out, that's the place where people get up and leave. He said it's happened in many showings in many different places. That's the part people say, I can't take anymore, and they leave. Well, I was determined not to walk out, and I didn't. And I didn't see anybody else in the crowd walk out either. So Henry was made in 1986 for about $110,000, directed by a guy named John McNaughton, who was just beginning his film career. And it made quite a bit of money. Of course, with a budget like that, it's kind of hard not to. Filmed on 16 millimeter. Not released widely until 1990, and in a slightly re-edited version, I guess. So as I said, this is the first time that I ever watched it. And I have to say that, without giving away spoilers, because obviously the story is about a man who is a serial killer, and it just depicts his rather dark, creepy, ugly lifestyle. This man, Henry, played by Michael Rooker, who gave an incredible performance. I have to give that to him. He's a drifter who somehow ends up living in Chicago, has a roommate named Otis, played by another loser in life, played by Tom, let's see, what is his name? Tom Towles. Another very good performance. And this guy named Otis becomes Henry's partner in crime. And it just shows several scenes of violent killings. I'm not sure how many scenes of ugly violence there are, but I have to admit they were really almost impossible to take, and I admit that I closed my eyes during a lot of these things because I just did not want to take this into my brain. But as I said, I stayed to the end of the film. The other lead character in the film is a girl named Becky, who happens to be the sister of Otis, who comes up to Chicago to stay with her brother for a while to get away from an abusive husband and get a job and make some money. So she's living in this innocent, she's not terribly innocent, but she's very vapid. She ends up living with these two ugly, dark creatures, and her brother is about as creepy as it gets. And then you get Henry, and she starts falling for Henry. Well, Tracy Arnold is the name of the actress who plays Becky, and she is also very good. And Tom Towles has a few more screen credits. He actually started working as an actor in films in Dog Day Afternoon in 1975. So about 11 years later, he went back to make Henry, and then had a few other film credits after that. And he passed away in 2015. Tracy Arnold doesn't have many credits at all. But according to what I read on IMDb, she actually was getting her master's degree from a university in Texas to be a director. So that's kind of interesting. Michael Rooker went on to do a lot of films, and John McNaughton as well has a long string of credits. So this film is, even though the violence is almost unbearable, and I mean really ugly scenes of violence, what this film has going for it is the fact that you have a fascinating look at these characters, and they become more than one dimensional, at least two dimensional, perhaps even three dimensional. And it's fascinating to look at the relationships between these characters and the atmosphere, the lifestyle that they're living. Um, I have to say it's not a film I would ever necessarily want to see again, and I can't say that it's enjoyable. I can't even say that I recommend it, but I do think that it has a lot of worth to it. It was brilliantly made when you consider that it was made for such low money with basically unexperienced actors, and it's only 83 minutes long, and it accomplishes what it set out to do, which is to show you the existence, the life, the mindset of this dark, creepy, disturbed individual, and the two people that he is living with. And it also has peripheral characters, who some of the victims and some of the people that Henry encounters. Um, it's very well done. I have to give it that. It kind of makes me think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, two very different kinds of films, but they have a lot in common, that they were low budget and they showed a lot of violence. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a film that I have a lot of respect for because it was made so well, and what they accomplished on such a low budget with a lot of non-actors, really. But it's not a film that I necessarily want to sit down and watch and have a good time. I don't think I'd ever want to see Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer again. I certainly don't want to own it. But yeah, it had some things going for it. And contrasted to a film like Mother, which was made for 31 million bucks and had all this incredibly self-indulgent, you know, self-indulgent energy put in by the director to make this big cosmic point. And I'm not sure he was able to do that, but I think that a film that is so economically made like Henry just manages to get its point across and do what it set out to do. And I have to say that it was quite an experience. But I don't regret that I closed my eyes for some of the violence, because I don't need to be taking that into my brain and remembering it. And I told Chuck after the film was over that I had Mary Poppins waiting in my DVD player at home so I could have an antidote very quickly. Of course, that was a joke. I don't own Mary Poppins, but I did come home and I watched Dinner at 8, starring Jean Harlow and a whole bunch of other MGM stars like John Barrymore, Lionel Barrymore, Wallace Beery, Marie Dressler, which is a beautiful, funny, well-made film from the early 1930s that is guaranteed to lift your spirits when you've experienced 83 minutes of darkness and ugliness. So that's my blathering review of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. Again, not a film that I would necessarily recommend, but a film that has some worthwhile elements to it. And it is in the book of 1001 films you must see before you die. I don't know if I would tell you have to see it before you die, but if you do, you might appreciate some things about it. So, all right, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think, and let me know what you think about my rather haphazard review. Thanks for watching. Take care.